Before today's episode, I wish to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, and recognise their continued connection to the beautiful land and sea. I'd also like to pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging, and I extend this acknowledgement to the traditional owners of the land my listeners are on. Welcome to Ritual the Podcast, your cottage in the woods. A sacred space for the witches, the healers, the magical folk to meet and speak of wisdom, witchery, and old world magic, where people come to learn, to hear stories, to share secrets, and to be free to be their true selves. Welcome to Ritual.
So one thing about me is that, and I think this is like my Libra rising part, is that I like things to be really pretty. And so when I do like basic things like find a diary for every start of the year, I'm not like one of those people that just gets like lined ones that are blank and, you know, like they're boring. And there's no inspiration in there at all. And so for the past couple of years, I have been obsessed with this one diary by this amazing woman who you're going to know as soon as I say her name, but she basically has created something that's like everything my brain wants. It's got magic, it's got beauty, it's got information, it's not boring. And so every year I have this immense gratitude for this amazing woman called Stacey Demarco. And she is with me right now. She is an author. She makes these beautiful card decks. She does these diaries. She does everything. And she's awesome. And I love her. And I'm so happy that she's here with me. Hello, Stacy.
Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. But I'm really delighted that you love the diary so much.
It's just the best thing ever. And I will get into that after because it's not like a normal thing. Like most people do a book or they'll do a card deck, but like no one really does a diary, and you've like totally nailed it. Like I wouldn't even compete with you because I'd be like, what else do you need? You've already done it.
Let me tell you a funny story about this diary. Yeah. Okay? So let me show you like this is the 2023.
I know I've ordered mine. Here's
very
the current one.
Have you got one? Okay, you've got the 2022. So this is the 2023. So it's a night garden.
So pretty.
So beautiful. But anyway, like I'll send you one out. You'll see it.
I'm excited.
So when as a witch, right, you know, this is important, the lunar and the seasonal stuff.
Yeah.
And I used to get, this is like 15 years ago, okay, or 16 years ago. I used to get a diary from the Northern Hemisphere because like there wasn't one from the Southern Hemisphere that I loved. And it was out of sheer annoyance at having to get all the moons
flip
out and write me myself and convert it and twist it and all that. But I went to my publisher and I said, hey, I want to do a Southern Hemisphere lunar and seasonal diary. And I'm explaining it to her and she's sitting there like looking at me like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're, what? Like, what are you talking, why would someone want something like this? And also, you can do this electronically. Why do people want a diary anymore?
Yeah.
You know, like, so I'm sitting there going, look, I promise you if I'm annoyed by this, there's got to be lots of other people annoyed by this. I said, look, you know, I worked so hard on convincing her, right? And I said, okay, look, let's just do one.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work out, okay, then I've made a mistake, you know, and
I've got my own diary.
That's right. And we make it really beautiful and, you know, and it has all the wheel of the year. It has like all that. And it found a market in the very first year. And then she was like, oh, I'm really shocked. You're
like, I told you.
There's a lot of pissed off people out there like
there
me.
Is.
You know? Like,
okay.
And then so now we're in, this is like 14 years, 15
wow.
years, right? And now not only is it Southern Hemisphere, we've done a Northern Hemisphere.
Oh, you got the North.
So people are going, oh, actually, we like this little Aussie thing. We like this Aussie diary. Like,
good on you.
She flipped it round. And often we get things, obviously, from the Northern Hemisphere coming here. But for us to have success over there, you know,
big.
is a little, you know, a little Australian publisher is is a really good thing. So
that's so good. And good on you for like going, there's a big hole in this market and you should fill it. And even though they said no, you're like, no, you should.
Yeah,
you should just try it.
Like seriously, like normally I have these great meetings with my publisher and we sit down and I'm like, oh, I forgot this idea for this or an idea for that. And normally it's an easy, fairly easy sell.
Yeah.
Not an easy sell, but I'm like, I've got this really good, like, okay, I'll take that one or I won't take that one, but that one I have to really, kind of try to explain because it's not something outside our circle really that the average person would know. Yeah. But when, there's amazingly now we're 14 years down the track, 15 years down the track.
Hair flip.
But it's the average person who buys this now.
Totally, because it's so awesome.
You don't have to be pagan. There's, like everyone's into the lunar cycle now.
Exactly. So, and you can kind of like, because some people will follow the wheel, but not really so much the moon, or that you get the moon people, or you get the people who go, I just want a pretty diary. So you kind of get like all different people. Yeah.
And also, because at the beginning, there's that little planning section in each month. And you have people that, like, the amount of people who've written to me and gone, I just love that section in the front because it makes me think and plan for the next month. Yes. So thank you for putting that in.
I love that too.
Okay, all right. So are you pagan? No, I'm not pagan.
Yeah, I just have a brain.
Yeah, I like that. I'm like, okay.
That's awesome. Yeah, good on you.
Thank you.
Now, I do have one question, and this is probably the most important question that I will ask you.
Yes, I do.
You mentioned the other day that you have a puppy.
Yes, I do.
What kind of puppy do you have?
Oh, I should have brought a picture because I've come downstairs because she's a teen pup. So she's
yes.
So I have a large Ridgeback who's 6. He's beautiful. And
I love them.
Yes, the most patient boy in the world. But teen puppies, I don't know. She's a rescue. She had a very bad start. Yeah. But she looks a lot like him, but no ridge. And she's very, very cute, but super high energy right now. Yeah. Being a teen pup. So today, because I knew I'd be talking to you, today I put her into doggy daycare, as you do as a good mother for socialization, because I thought if she's around, she'd be jumping on the table like she is. Like
I wouldn't complain, but I can understand from your part it gets a bit full on.
We may get a visit from one of the cats, who knows.
I'm all for it.
It's all
good.
This
is an animal friendly show.
Fantastic.
I used to be a vet nurse in my last life, and I know we used to get lots of Ridgebacks come in, and they were one of my favorites because they're so sweet and they're so big and like friendly giants. And then like all the rescue dogs as well. We had a rescue who we got her when she was 9, and she was like, she'd been a breeder. She'd had a horrible life. Yeah. And rescue dogs just have something so special about them because they're so like appreciative. They have so much love they want to give. Yeah. And as soon as you start to show them that the world isn't a bad place, they just like brighten up.
She, you probably know from my page, my Facebook page, we raise a lot of money for, rescues.
Awesome.
And, we've done that for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And it's something that's important to me.
Totally.
So, when it was time for us to get a new pup, it was great because all the rescue people that I knew were like, so we're ready. We have a pup, and Elka, this is her name, Elka.
Oh, beautiful.
Elka was, one of 5 pups found in a box, starving on the side of a road with, ringworm and malnutrition, and
one of them
died, and
that's sad.
People are not. There's some people out there that
seriously,
seriously. So luckily they were found, great foster, and rescue. Yeah. And we ended up taking Elka. So she is an absolute joy. But as anyone who has a pup that's going, it's trying to get anything done right now. The last 3 months has been, if all the people with children and toddlers are going, ha ha, but hopefully that will,
In
calm
time.
down a little bit. Yeah.
In time.
And she's being really smart. She's watching Hector, who's very well trained. That's my respect. Watching him, and we've got her into training with a fantastic trainer really early, so she'll be great.
Oh,
and
good.
she loves the cats, and
Do the cats love her?
Oh yeah, except for when she's too
Oh yeah, no,
much.
totally.
And then they're like, I'm just going to climb up really high into the cat tower, and I'll watch for a bit,
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so first official question for you.
Yes.
What do you have a morning ritual? And this could be a magical one, a mundane, or kind of a mix of both, but I love to hear how people start their day.
Yeah. So I'm generally an early riser.
Yeah.
I never used to be, but I've become that way. I live in a house on a cliff with a huge garden, small house.
Yeah.
So the first thing I'll do is I'll get up and I'll go out into the garden, right? Mm-hmm. And if it's sort of at the time at the moment, it's dark in the morning often when I get up. But when the sun starts to come back, we're past solstice now, so
the perfect time of day when the sun starts to come up.
It's gorgeous, the colours and everything. So I tend to walk the garden because I've got lots of lots of native animals in my garden. I've got a pair of peregrine falcons I can see in the tree.
Wow.
So I'll tend to do that, and part of that will be I'll stop somewhere that I feel connected with that in that morning, and I will stop and I'll take a breath and I'll connect with what I call the big circle, which is the earth, everything extending outwards, expanding outwards, pulling up energy, extending outwards. So no matter how bad I feel, so I was saying to it's been a while, you and I have been trying to coordinate, been sick or had kids, or whatever. This is a way of just grounding and also sending and connecting with energy. I never feel particularly tired because I can pull up what the earth, what Mother gives me, it's awesome. And then extend that energy out to anything or anyone else, right?
Yep.
Then I'll come back inside and I'll light a candle on the altar. And I also have a smaller altar to Vesta, the sort of fire of the house.
Yep.
And then the day begins, but it's that moment of connection and also as I'm walking around, it's kind of like, what do I want to do today? And that's kind of mundane in a way, because it's kind of like, okay, well, I've got to do, today I was up earlier, I had a call I took from someone overseas. I've got you, lovely, beautiful Amy, and I've got some other things I've got to do today. So it's this little way of going over it in my mind how that's going to be,
Yeah. It's nice to do that though, because then you're not starting the day with this like boom, boom, boom and get things done. You've already like processed your mental to-do list and you're like ready to go.
Yeah. I mean, it's also kind of stoic, as in capital S, stoic philosopher. They talk about starting your day where you think about how we don't predict what it's going to look like, but we prepare for what we think it's going to be, right? And I kind of like that. That's always given me a feeling of calm, to kind of go, no matter how busy it is, all right, well, today's going to be probably a bit chaotic, so how can I radiate calm in amongst all of that, right?
Beautiful.
As much as I can.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm always successful, but you can have the intention, can't you? You're like, all right, well, today's probably going to be a bit
I really tried.
I'm trying,
Yeah.
So, and also too, in the morning, once everything's open, I'll go around and and if I need to harvest any of my herbs and plants, because like I said, I've got a big garden, I will go and harvest in the morning.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And are the herbs for anything in particular? Is it stuff that you're using, or just something that you feel you need on you?
It might be for client talismans, or it might be I'm making an ointment later on that day, or I'm like for example, yesterday I harvested a whole bunch of chickweed, which is very nice this time of year. And I put it in a jar of vodka because I'm going to make vodka chickweed.
Nice.
It's very nice, very bright green. It'll end up being bright green. But the other thing I'm doing with it is I'm putting it in oil so I can make an anti-inflammatory ointment for later on.
Beautiful.
So that was yesterday. Today I've got some comfrey that is getting a little bit out of control. So I might take some of that out today and also put that in some oil to steep it, and then I'll use that also for ointments.
Nice. I love, what a good way to start the day. And I love, like, grounding is so powerful. I think, like, if anything's going wrong and I'm feeling super stressed or anxious or whatever, that's always my first like go to is like take off your shoes, go outside, just stand and reset. But I love, because I wake up early as well. Yeah. And I like that you kind of wake with the sun. I love that the act of like, you can see when the earth is waking up, and that liminal time I find just so peaceful and calming, and it's like really magical. Everything looks beautiful outside and
quiet. Like it's before the crazy starts,
Exactly.
Like my phone starts, but
it's just you and the birds are telling you the earth is awake now, and that's fine. I love that sound.
This time of year, we were woken at my house by the kookaburra chorus because we have a family of kookaburras, the territorial kookaburras that are sort of there, and about soon as first light happens, it doesn't have to be sunrise, but first light, you get the kookaburra chorus.
They're off.
They're off. And then different times a year we'll get different birds doing that, which is
I love it.
Beautiful cyclic thing if you're aware of it.
Yeah, we live up in the hills in the Dandenong Ranges, and we're the same. Like we have so many different birds, and they do that like all different times of the year. They kind of like change shifts and go, now it's my turn to wake everybody up and let you know. So I know the kookaburras will be out soon because every morning they're the same. They're all like, hey, we're all here and we're going to have a chat with everybody. It's kind of funny because you wake up kind of laughing. Because like something's funny out there.
It's a great sound. It's a great sound. And soon it'll be the peregrines for us because they're going to mate soon, and they have a lot of noise. The two of them, but that is like you expect that kind of groovy, hawky, eagerly sound like beer or something like that. Nah, that's not what peregrines sound like. Peregrines go. Like a friend of mine stayed over a couple of weeks ago and she goes, what was that? That was just such an ugly sound. What was that? And I went, ugly sound. Look up there, look.
They're mating. Isn't that what you do?
Oh my God, look how beautiful they are. And I'm like, yes, peregrines are very beautiful, but they don't make a very pretty sound.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So going way back, what was your journey like in becoming a witch? Like, were you always one, or was it something that kind of found you along the way, or like how did it all kind of happen?
Over it?
Did you trip over it? Did it hit you on the head?
Look, I think as a child, so if you think, I always think about witchcraft and paganism as being earth honoring and before anything else, right? So I was a very earth honoring kid, right? So I was better in the garden. I was always surrounded by pets. I had a great love of animals from a very early age. My mother said that if she ever wanted to kind of calm me down, like get rid of me for some reason, she'd just send her out to the garden and I would be like there with the plants and, I found great awe and wonder from a very early age into nature, right? Very, very early. And then I got into mythology and I got into the stories of the ancient Greeks and Romans and Egyptians and really thought that whole thing was incredible, and was very lucky that my parents, they didn't have a lot of money, but they exposed me to the library. Right.
Love the library.
Yeah. And God bless the librarians because I was a very curious kid. So I
Mhm.
would go, what should I read? And they're like, oh, okay. So I read from a really, really early age.
Yeah.
Like I was reading before school. And that was a great joy, you know, and, you know, does that make you a writer? I don't know, but it makes you have a great love of books. From a very
And a love of words, which I think makes you a writer.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, and then, I mean, I was brought up you know, like not an active Catholic, but certainly I went to a Catholic school.
Yeah.
So I was very aware of the mythos of the Catholic Church. And then decided as a teenager, I didn't relate to this at all. But I still had a great sort of feeling of, you know, like a hole there, you know, what am I? Like I do feel spiritual, but, you know, like spiritual, that word then doesn't sort of have the meaning it does now.
Yeah.
So what is it? So, you know, in my uni years, I started looking at, you know, am I Hindu? Am I Buddhist? Am I, you know, like you go through it all, you know, and I'm a, you know, researcher, you know, I've got that sort of a mind. So you check it all out, and you're like, I'm a bit like that. I'm a bit like that.
Yeah, tick that box, but not that.
Not that. So I kind of had this idea that I was connected to the big picture somehow, but maybe not any religion, you know. And I love the mythos. So gosh, you know, maybe I could follow an old religion. I don't know. But I didn't really realize that there was a practice out there, right? I wasn't exposed to that. There's no internet, people. Back then, no internet, right?
There wasn't the internet? What?
No internet. So I couldn't go, I feel like this. And
What is it?
What is it, right? And, you know, there were occult shops. There were, you know, those. But if you really wanted to go and check, you had to find somebody, right? Which is kind of good and bad at the same time, right? So I remember I was getting on it. I used to work for a very big music company, and I was in PR and communications. And I used to travel to America once a month. And I remember getting to the airport once and then not having any books, you know, no Kindles back then.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to sit on this flight with no book, you know. So I grabbed about 4 from the bookstore.
Yeah. I love the airport bookshop.
Airport bookshop. And one of them happened to be a book on paganism, who knew, by Starhawk, right?
Yes.
Who's famous. And by the time I'd got to LA, I realized I was pagan.
Wow.
I was possibly not a witch formally, but like a lot of the things I would do were kind of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I was very into activism, you know, animal activism and environmental activism anyway back then. So I'm like, oh my God, this is kind of the practice of it. And so I started to go down that pathway and check it out, right? Is this for me? Just like I checked out whether Buddhism is, or, you know, and I realized, oh my God, there is a path.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not a path that tells you what to do. It's a path that you know, there is some framework, but you can kind of look at different aspects of, right?
Yeah, you can create your own journey.
You can create, and because I was already kind of like, I knew all the mythos, I knew all that, I was into it. And I realized, oh my God, it fit together.
Perfect.
You know, I worked out how it fit together. And so from there, I got serious, right, about it. I ended up studying in Greece with some Artemistic priestesses there.
Wow.
Because I worked out pretty quickly that Artemis, who I loved all her mythos even as a teenager, this idea that you can be independent and athletic and you didn't have to look like all the other girls. You know, you can be
badass.
You can wear the shorts you on and run in the forest and have your own dogs, and it's all good, you know. You don't need to rely on a man. It's all like really different. And so I realized there was a pathway there. So it all, you know, it all started fitting in, and eventually, fast forward, I decided as part of my great work as my initiation, that I would write a book.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, don't forget, working very corporate life.
Yeah.
You know, very rational corporate life. I wrote a book called Witch in the Boardroom, which was a very big success, crazy. And that enabled me to kind of decide to do this work. Kind of, it gave me the confidence to kind of go, all right, well, I don't have to do this other stuff. I can plan, you know, I sort of did both for a while. I wasn't stupid and threw it all out, you know, but I can be a witch. I can really walk the pathway.
Yeah.
Which is, and then, you know, I end up being a creator of all these things now.
Yeah.
The dream. Yeah.
What was it like going from, because I saw that you referred to yourself as a corporate animal.
Yeah.
What was it like going from that world to a world that you could kind of create your own life? Like you were doing something basically completely different.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that journey like?
I mean, I was still using, you know, the way I think about it is I was still using my talents, you know, so, you know, I used my writing skills and communication skills and research skills, you know, all the way along, but it's what I used it for.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the hardest things ever was to, like, for anyone, and I have a lot of clients who are the same, who go, I want to do this thing over here, but I don't know how to transition.
Yeah.
Because I'm earning a, you know, good living, and I'm good at what I do. And when I tell my partner, husband, friends, I'm going to go over here and be this thing, and I'll go, are you an idiot?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Right. And I remember my parents going, are you involved in a cult or something? Right? Why would you give up this really well-paid life that you've worked really hard for? Why, you know, self-made, really hard. Why would you just chuck that out the window and take a risk, such a big risk over here? And to me, it wasn't such a great risk because I had balanced both of them for some time.
Yeah.
So when my first book came out, I was still working in corporate. I didn't just like give it up.
No.
And there's a certain sacrifice of time and effort and everything that you're doing, working a full-time job and writing at night.
Yeah.
So, you know, really hard. But I had to do it because I began to really resent the work I was doing, no matter how well paid or how much I enjoyed it or not.
Yeah.
You begin to be called over here.
The pull is strong. The
call is strong. And it was kind of like, well, I can do that or not. You know, I can give it a go. And what's the worst thing that can happen? Okay, it doesn't work and I go back to work.
Yeah, exactly.
But for somebody else, right? That, you know, like I had enough confidence in my skills to go, I can still get a job.
Yeah. And I think that because I get a lot of people who say that they want to go and do something, but where they are so comfortable and like while they do it, they don't have any support. And I totally understand that. But then I think like big picture, you go, when you die, that money isn't coming with you, you know, like it's not coming with you. But I don't want to get to like 80, 90, 100 and go, damn it. Like, I wish I had just like tried. Now I've had to live going, well, what if? And that's even worse than maybe failing, but going, at least I tried it, because like that regret will stay with you forever.
Yeah. Regret is terrible.
Regret is
I don't want to regret.
Terrible.
Yeah.
So with all your work, and you kind of mentioned this just before, so there's a lot of like mention of different deities, like in your diaries, you always mention different ones depending on like where the time is. And you've got this new oracle deck coming out, which I'm very excited about.
I finally got a copy.
Oh, you finally, why didn't you have one? You made it.
I will get you one. I've only just got it. So
it's beautiful.
Excuse me, my coughing, as you know.
Oh no, it's so fun. So with that, do you have, I know you mentioned Artemis, but do you have someone in particular, or maybe there's 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever that you work with?
Yeah.
And
so
who are they?
It took me years, really, except Artemis was the first, right?
Yes.
Artemis and Hecate were the first, right? And then, look, I always think when people say, oh, how do I find my patroness? I mean, I call them the patroness, right?
Yes. Yep.
The one that you work with, or the patron, if it's masculine. I think they're the deity that, if you look at the themes of your life or the things that you need, they embody that.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, Artemis showed me that it was okay to be different. Right? She showed me that it was okay to love nature, to have sovereignty in my own realm, to be independent, because that wasn't such a big deal back then.
Yeah.
And it was okay to be kind of focused like the archer, interested in other things besides, for me, I wasn't particularly interested in getting married. I wasn't particularly interested in having children. Like Artemis, she doesn't have children, but she is a goddess of childbirth and of young children, right? So not having them, but
but supporting them,
guide to them, and women who are pregnant, right? So, I found that whole thing really interesting, and a reflection on sort of my thoughts. Hecate was, the triple goddess. She's the goddess of witchcraft, and everyone was like, "Oh, she's a dark goddess." Hecate now is very popular, right?
Yes.
But back when I first started, oh, you don't want to mix with that. Blah blah blah. Well, hang on a minute. She's the goddess of the crossroads. She's the goddess of illumination. I really understood how the dark goddesses are not evil or nasty or anything like that. But, like most people don't see it that way, right? So I was just like, nah, I'm going to try working with her. And she was really responsive and loving and protective and really assisted me in building my magic, right? So those two, easy, right? They're not easy, but, those two were the ones that came quickly. Later on, when I was looking for a place of my own sort of house and family and realm, and I started working with Vesta, the Roman Vesta, and I kind of said to her, if you can help me find a place, I will always have a fire burning for you. Right? And I found, like, after I sort of did some workings with her, I got, the place I'm in now. And so, the shrine that I told you about, my morning.
The fire is burning.
She gets a little fire in her shrine, right? And then and I want to really emphasize this, because a lot of people are like, oh, you've got to have a masculine and a feminine. Well, actually took me a really long time. And I do this, I work with this every day to find some gods to work with, right? And it wasn't until I was 10 years down the track where I'm like, I probably should start looking at the masculine. I
will think about it.
Yeah, like I came in really from the feminine divine part. And I was a bit suspicious of some of the gods. When you read the mythos, and I don't know. And so I started working with Tor.
Yep.
And completely huge, funny, big energy, completely different. When I came to this house, it's on the top of a hill and it gets struck by lightning quite a bit.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So like we've got a big tree out there that got struck by lightning just before we arrived. And the other owners are like, just be really mindful that, when there's a storm, you've got to make sure you're inside. So I'm like, okay. And so I kind of thought, maybe this is the place. Maybe, right? So we kind of, I started working with Tor and really enjoying that.
That's so cool. What a perfect spot too with the lightning. It's like,
oh my God, he loves it here. Like I've got I've got, rune symbols in the tree now. Like I've carved them in the tree for protection. So we haven't been hit by lightning since. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right. When it gets really bad here, I always go, okay, enough.
You can chill out now.
I'm all for you and all that, but it's a bit scary now. I work with, depending on what I'm working on, I might also work with Shiva. Mm-hmm. There's the gods. Thor's the main one. Odin, I'll work with Odin. I really like the Norse gods to work with. I really enjoy that. But I think the feminine divine came first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way first, yeah.
And what do you say to people? Because one question I do get a lot is people wanting to work with someone, but they're like, I don't even know how I'm supposed to do that. Like, do they come to me? Do I go to them? Is it both? Like, what would you say to someone who wants to get into that deity work, but they have no idea where to even begin? So
the first thing is, as I always say, the Greeks had it right when they said "nothi theron," which meant know thyself. Mm-hmm. Sit down with a pen and paper and think about the things of your life. What you need help with, right? Mm-hmm. You might go, oh, my love life is terrible. It's up, it's shit, right? Always has been. All right, well, maybe we could look at that, right? Mm-hmm. Or my job, I'm not great with that. Or, I'm scared of this. Or I've had trauma. Or, whatever it is. Write it down, get clear. Mm-hmm. And then start looking at who are the goddesses, let's say it's a goddess, who are the deities or goddesses that most work with this. Yeah. Right? So that's a way in, right? Mm-hmm. Everything you should do should be respectful. Yes. Read their mythos, read their stories, get a feel for who they are, right? So, and original sources. Yeah. Right? So don't look at the Christianized version. No, don't do that. Or, any of the Irish or English, there's some really amazing dark goddesses that have such a bad reputation. And they don't have a bad reputation until the Christians came on board, right? Mm-hmm. So go right back, original sources. And then, then you can, if you're experienced, you can write yourself a little ritual. If you're not experienced, just find out what they like. So, for example, if you're working with Greek goddesses, they like a little prezzy, so you might want to give them some wine, olive oil, some lovely incense. If you're working with Egyptian, gods and goddesses, a little bit of gold or a particular stone they like. You can use honey, just find out what they like. Like Thor loves a beer, man. Like he loves mead. He likes a beer, right? I don't drink beer, right? But I don't drink, but I will get the mead out, good honey mead. Mm-hmm. And when you're offering something to the Norse gods, they kind of like it that you offer it to them, you have a sip, like yourself. Yeah, you're having a little party together. It's a conversation, right? Mm-hmm. So, find what their symbol is. You can draw that, like Thor's got, his hammer, Mjolnir, so you can do that. But, Artemis is the archer, so I have arrowheads I make. Oh, wow, cool. Yeah, so just work out what, that part of that is a gift, a respectful thing. Mm-hmm. Don't just go in going, the way I explain it to people is, let's say you're meeting someone for the first time, Amy. Do you go up and go, hi, I'm Amy. Give me $20,000 because I really need it right now, okay? I mean, you could try, but I don't think it would go well. Who the hell are you? Thanks, right? Mm-hmm. So this is about building a relationship, a respectful relationship. And, you're soon going to find out if a deity's not interested. Mm-hmm. You're going to get nothing. Yeah. There's not going to be any kind of warm feeling but I've never experienced an absolute no. Like in any deity I've been respectful with and serious about, I've never found that. And also, most of the ones I've got in, say, my oracle decks or something, there's a little invocation in there. Beautiful. Right? So there's a starting point. There's a lot, just internet is so amazing. There's always something.
There's so much information out there. And I think also it's like making, like, it doesn't matter if you don't have exactly the thing that they want. Like really at the end of the day, it's like intention and respect.
Yes.
So even if you did just give them like some water, but you're doing it because you have this really nice intention of, I want to give you something because I want to work with you, then that's going to mean more than spending weeks going, oh, I can't find the exact wine that they had back in the day.
Yes.
You know,
I mean, look, my students, I mean, when I'm training someone in a serious way, I ban them from any tools or anything for the first, 6 months.
All
Everyone's
first.
expensive, I've got a wand, I've got this, I've got that. Yeah, well, you're not going to use it for 6 months because really your fingers should be enough, right?
Yeah.
So, it's about, like you're saying, this intention, this feeling of respect, and dare I say it, love, extending that out,
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Now I wanted to ask you, because one of my next big goals is I really want to write a book. It's been something I've been saying, I've been saying a million times, and there's always something that's in the way, but I'm like, no, stuff it. I need to do it. Yeah. So with you, all your work is so beautiful and detailed, and the way you write is so lovely, and it's so like really just captures that picture. So depending on like what you're doing, because you do have so many different things that you create, do you have like a creation process? Do you have something like a way of going into it? Is it like a theme that just comes to you, or do you get told something you have to do? Like, how does it all come about?
All right. So I don't use fancy terms like spirit told me. So I'm not that person. So if you're looking for that, I think I am a intensely curious person. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I find great inspiration and wonder in what is actually there to start with.
Yeah.
Okay. So the idea that people want to go off into Mars and space and all that, when we haven't really had a good look at the ocean.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
It's a bit crazy to me, like, so much I don't know, and there's so much none of us know, right? So my work has always been this sort of melding of rationality and science and what is there with the mystery of what is magic and what is not there, right?
Yeah.
So if I think about those things, it's what I'm drawn to, what turns me on about that. Okay. So for example, this new deck that we were just talking about, Deep, Dark and Dangerous, right? That has mythos. It has the psychology, the rational psychology of working with the unconscious and the dark, the shadow, what Jung would call the shadow. But it also was this kind of thing that I was seeing out there that was really, excuse the French, pissing me off about this toxic positivity, this light, love and light, love and light, love and light, white witchcraft, which don't get me started on. Like, just
damn, that was my next question.
Don't get me started on, but you're a white witch, right? No, I'm not a white witch. I'm a witch with a capital W, right? And let's not even think about the racial connotations of that whole thing.
Yeah.
But, so this was the concept for this was I wanted to do something that talked about the monsters, the unshaped, unhidden, unformed parts of ourselves that maybe we don't like.
But we have them.
But we've got them. And if we can see them, transform them or accept them or, whatever, we're going to be happier.
Totally.
So this is where the rationality comes in for me. I don't do any work. I always ask myself when I'm planning something out, who is this going to benefit? Okay. If it's just for fun, excellent. So I better make it fun. I better make it happy. I better make it groovy, right? But if it's going to help someone, which I hope my work does, then I have to make it effective. I have to make it the writing inspirational, or I have to make it at least clear, about what I'm after. And something like Deep, Dark and Dangerous, one of the things I want to show is how important it is for us to go down into the dark. How we can be Hecate leading Persephone out with her torch, you know, like how we need to go down into the dark, like Inanna, right? You know, so there are so many stories, magnificent mythos about going into the darkness, right? Walking through the valley of the shadow of death, not death, but the valley of the shadow of death, right? So we can reform ourselves into something that is more you know, beneficial for us and others, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, that this whole deck, when I'm writing anything, I have the overall arching outcome in mind, right? So, so as a writer, you know, you need to be thinking, what do I want to do here? You know, so I for each one, going back to process, for each one, I will write down, so a deck, you know, that's 44 cards. Okay? Yeah. So I'll sit there and I'll work out what 44 I want to put in a balanced way, right? Yeah. And I'll play with that for quite some time, right? Because there's more than 44 dark goddesses or monsters or creatures. There's hundreds of them.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So I've got to sit there and think, okay, which 44 are going to go best? Which is going to be better for divination, because obviously people use this as an oracular tool. So which is going to give a broad feel for people to be able to do good divination with. And then I have to work out the structure of how I want to do this. So, you know, for example, in the elemental oracle, which is real science, you know, atoms, all that sort of stuff, I've used a word of power, right? Or, you know, an ancient word that meant that thing. So that people that do spellcraft or the alchemic work with the elements, they can use that word of power. Okay?
Awesome.
Right? So I've thought about it. This one doesn't have a word of power, right? This one has a completely different format. Okay? Because it's a completely different topic, you know, like a completely different topic. So this one, you know, has an idea of duality. Right? So, you know, in each one of these, even the nastiest monster has a feeling of has a duality, right? So we might look at a particular, you know, creature that takes revenge on somebody, right? So isn't that justice and revenge? There's the duality, right? So they're not doing it for no good reason. They're actually doing it because that person's not a very nice person.
Yeah.
But we don't sort of think about that with monsters, you know?
Interesting.
And also too, the second thing in this is I'm really passionate about it with mythos is, and it's come out in this deck in particular, is this idea of how some of the stories originally are different than how they come out now. So in particular, stories of female monsters. All right. So in the beginning, they were one way, and then monotheistic religion, Christianity comes over and makes them into these horrible monsters, right? Which, they weren't in the beginning. So, what happened? Right? So it's important that we actually see the processes of what goes on, you know.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's so important as well, because shadow work is something that people often don't want to do because it's uncomfortable. And you go, of course it's uncomfortable. It is. But the thing is that you have shadows because something is triggering it or something's happened or whatever. So if you don't do it, you're still going to have that shadow in a different form where you feel anxious or upset, or you can't see this person because they make you feel this.
Or worse, patterns, you know.
Exactly.
So like, I know I got a shadow, and I go, I'll tell you a really easy way. Do you have something that keeps happening to you?
Yeah.
You know, you keep picking the wrong people, or you keep, you know, failing at this thing, or, you know, whatever. That's where it is. Go deep.
You need to go in.
As the Stoics would say, the Stoic philosophers, the obstacle is the way. Where the blockage is, go that way. Yeah.
And if you do it, imagine how strong you're going to feel knowing that that shadow, you conquered it and you understood it. And then you have this like deeper understanding of yourself as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, then I can do something else, and I can do something else. I can conquer that.
You have a choice. You have a choice, you know.
Totally.
Don't we all want more choice and freedom? Like, isn't that, I mean, for me anyway, I mean, maybe it's just the Artemis in me. Really important I have freedom, you know, but if I know what my shadow is, I get a choice, right? Do I keep it? Do I transform it? You know, do I kill it?
Yeah.
What do I do with it, right? But I got to see it first. I got to be aware of it. And this is the beauty of doing shadow work, is to kind of illuminate your blind spots.
Yeah.
Right.
So
and
important.
Only you can do it. Like, no one else can do shadow work for you.
No, because you're the one stuck inside your own mind. So no one else is going to go, I think this is making you feel uncomfortable. Like you have to go, you have to verbalize it and you have to do something. Otherwise it kind of just like festers and grows, and just get rid of it. You don't need it. Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff, you know, even the mythos talks about this. A lot of it is happened when you're a kid.
Yeah.
You know, and you may not even remember the source of it.
The seed was planted there.
Yeah. Yes. And so now, as an adult, as a strong adult, you need to go looking for it.
Yeah.
Right? And you know what? It may, all the things that you do is to survive, you did for survival, good on you. That worked for you then. But if it's a pattern and it's not working for you now, all right, let's go in there and change it. It's, you know,
it can be done.
It can be done. Believe me, it can be done. Yeah.
That's exciting. I reckon they will help so many people, because especially cards like that, if you pull one, it's going to tell you something that you need to hear. And you might at first go, I'm just going to put the card back and pretend I didn't get that one. But then if it pops up again, you're like, well, someone's trying to tell you something.
Oh, look, you know, it's really funny. The first deck I ever did, or the first two decks, were the gods, you know, all about the gods and goddesses, right? And, you know, there's some, I made sure that there's not all the like pretty ones in there. You know? And I remember really early this woman coming up to me going, oh yeah, like I really like your deck. But it took me 3 pulls before I found a goddess I liked. I said, what? And she said, no, I pulled it and I got this really ugly, mean looking one. And then I pulled another one. I got another ugly, mean one. And it took me like 3 or 4 pulls before I pulled one I liked. And I thought, oh, I don't think it works like that.
No.
Whatever. I'm not here to tell you.
Yeah.
I can suggest how it can work.
Each to their own, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like when if you did like a tarot pull and you got the tower card, like you go, shit.
Oh,
all right,
not
fine. All right, bring it on.
Got the tower.
Fine. Give me a drink. All right, let's do it. So with all your work as well, you do have so many different aspects where you have like a book that's all about the moon. You've got the goddesses. You've got the beautiful book about all the herbs, which is so funny because I actually randomly did a class with Miranda and she was talking. She goes, oh, I did this book and whatever. And I'm like, oh, I know that book. And she's like, yeah, I did it with my friend Stacy. I'm like, oh, I know her. And it was just around the corner from my house. And I was like,
well, oh my God, such a small world.
Yeah. They're great there. I do love going in there. They're so like, they've just created this beautiful hub of like growth and magic. I love it.
Yeah. Miranda's fantastic and such a joy to work with.
She is. She's so beautiful.
Like, we had so much fun.
I can tell. It's a great book. I always go to it to like, I said to myself, every day I'm going to learn about a new herb and like write about it. So that's one of the ones I always go to like get information from. So well done to both of you.
Oh,
you did a good job.
Like, and it was a really big project like it was probably the longest, you know, project because, you know, we had COVID in the middle of it and we couldn't meet up, you know, so we had to do, you know, Sydney, Melbourne, you know, we had to do it that way. And like we couldn't launch it properly because we were both in two states and it was weird.
Yeah, but, that's annoying.
It was really hard, but you know, we're very proud of it. And
you should be. It's a beautiful book. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So with that, is there a particular part that you're really drawn to that like makes your witch heart shine? Is it the herbs? Is it the moon? Like, what is your favorite thing? Shine a nice black orb.
Look, I think all of the things I write about are part of witchcraft.
Yeah.
Right. So it's one of my intentions to show people how broad it can be. And, I think there's a temptation out there to just love the witchy aesthetic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally. It's such a thing at the moment as well.
It's such a thing. And that's fine. That's all good. But if you're not the witchy aesthetic, I've never been the witchy aesthetic. I mean,
and you don't have to be either.
From the garden, guys, like he's been chopping down a tree this morning. It's on my path. So I just wanted to represent that you didn't have to be that witchy aesthetic, that you can be sciencey, that you can be kind of rational. I don't tend to write the very ungrounded stuff, as you mentioned this morning. So I have a certain style that not everybody loves, and that's fine. That's all good. We're all, you don't love everybody. But I think, like, if somebody said to me I had to choose, like I'm not meant to have favorites, like it's like having children.
I know.
Favorite. Anything to do with the real natural environment. Yeah. Right. So, like I love the deck I did on the animals, divine animals. Like I had so much fun researching that. So when you get to like talk to the person who's the world authority on this particular animal, because you're getting as bullshit in your research, and you're like, I don't think that's right. And so you tap all your contacts, and and somebody comes up and says, I know the person that is the world authority on this one. I reckon they're going to give you, see if you can talk to them. And this person gives you 15 minutes of their time. It's like, oh, this is so great. Like, and then I can take that and I can tell them about the mythos of this animal.
Cool.
I don't know that. I didn't know that. I'm like, and this is this. Oh, I didn't know. So I'm teaching them something. They're teaching them something. That's the joy of this. Yes. Right. So I think that, and also this idea that magic, anything to do with magic, is we can pull everything together from what we have. Right? We are a part of nature, not apart from nature. Yes. Right? We are nature, right? So when someone says, oh, I like the nature, I go, oh, you love yourself, right? Yeah. What do you mean? I was like, well, you are nature.
You're a living thing that goes around.
Nature, part of the biome. So if I can show people how magnificent that is, that we can make our magic, we can pull our gods and goddesses in, we can do all of that, and obviously mythos is the other thing, right? Everything I write has mythos to it. Then I think we have a chance of saving the planet, right? Like I've always thought paganism as a way forward, it can help educate.
Can you imagine if everyone turned into a pagan?
Oh, fuck, if everyone fell in love with, their backyard again.
I know. Okay, that's what it's one thing that puts me into a rage is when you see people raiding other countries, worrying about what company bought what company and how much for and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, imagine if the planet disappeared, then none of us would have any of this. So maybe we need to stop all the crap and go, well, let's look after the planet first. And then you can worry about all the stuff that doesn't matter later, because without the earth, we don't exist. Is that a hard concept? No, it's not.
No. And look, I think the great spiritual love that a lot of people have, like, witchcraft is having a moment. We all know that. Right? So as, strangely enough, as an elder now, like I've got all these young people under, like, if you're an elder, I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm not an elder. I'm not old enough to be an elder. But, like they see you that way, because you're like,
you are wise.
You're fifth. No, if you're sort of 40 or 50-year-old, right? So therefore you're an elder, right? So, I think it's they kind of see you as someone that should be living the pathway, living your practice. And unless you can live your practice, what good is it?
Yeah.
Right. And I've always felt that way.
Yeah.
Right. If you can't live your spiritual practice or your religious practice or whatever it is your guideline, then what good is it? Right. And if that is just to control other people, that's not very good. Right?
No, it's not.
So, we're in a time now where there's these extremes. So I think we need to hold the line here as the sort of, to sort of say you can be spiritual or ethical or whatever word you want to put in it, but also quite rational about things.
Yeah.
And quite magical about things. There's not a lot of difference.
No.
That's what I'm trying to do in my work, which meant the original word witch meant weaver.
Yeah.
Right. So I take that very
putting
seriously.
Things together.
Right? I want to weave logos and mythos together. That's what I want to do.
I love that. That's great. That's a really good way of looking at it. So we talked about the morning.
Yeah.
Let's go to the end of the day. Do you have an evening ritual?
Yes, I do. So sunset, if I'm around at sunset, I will light a candle at sunset on the altar just to say, the day is ending.
Yep.
There we go. And before I go to bed, I will think about how the day went.
Yep.
And I think about how did I go? All right. And if there's anything really awful, I just say to my body, sleep will process it. I want you to take that away, right? Because I'm going to do better tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I ask for protection for the house and, my family. Very simple, nothing spectacular because, if you've had a big day, you've had a big day, I'm sure.
You're done.
I'm done. So basically 5 minutes.
Beautiful.
Thank you. And I will, light the Vesta thing and I'll blow that out before I go to bed. Very nothing, but just a gratitude. Thank you for letting me have another day. Yay.
All the basics.
All the basics, right? And I think actually having a little think about what the day was like and then letting it go.
That's important.
Yeah, like I've got to do this tomorrow. That's okay. But you're not beating myself up, I've said this before to people. I used to be a perfectionist, right?
Yeah.
Stand up. I'm Stacey Demarco. I'm a perfectionist, right? There's no good that comes from that, let me tell you, right? So being able to let stuff go and go, all right, that wasn't perfect. That's okay. I'm going to do better tomorrow or not, but I'm going to let that one go. I sleep like a baby.
Good.
Because I don't worry about it, right? I let it go. And I've got tomorrow, get up early, go and do that, plug in, go and do my morning ritual.
Perfect. And I think there's a lot of power in letting it go and having that sleep, because without the good sleep, then the next day will automatically start to go down. But if you can start fresh and the sun will come up again, then it's endless possibilities.
Exactly. It's a cycle.
It's a cycle.
I mean, we're pagan, we're witches, we're meant to be looking at the cycles of light and dark. Of, it's not always going to be good.
Some days are shit.
Right? And some days are gold, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. But then it's not all things shall pass, it's never going to stay that way.
No, not at all. All right. So before we finish, I have 5 Spitfire round questions for you.
Oh God. Okay. I better pay attention.
Yes.
Right.
First one. What is a movie you could watch 1,000 times?
Oh gosh. Probably Star Wars, the original Star Wars movie.
I've just started that again.
Oh my God, me too. Like look, there's probably a lot. I mean, Blade Runner I could watch as well. There's lots of movies. I love movies. But
beautiful.
That was the first one.
Yep. What is a book that changed your life?
So is it the spiral path or the spiral dance?
Spiral dance.
I've got a mental blank. Yeah, by Star Hawk. That was one. Yeah, but also I'm going to be really nerdy here. I hope you don't mind. Herodotus is the histories, which is a non-fiction ancient history text.
Yeah.
Because it was the thing that turned me on to proper ancient history.
Oh, beautiful.
He was one of the first, surviving, I suppose, historical texts of the ancient world. So
that's not nerdy.
Yeah, it is nerdy. So nerdy. Oh my God. Yes.
If you could be an animal for a day, what animal would you be?
I would be one of my peregrine falcons.
Yeah. Wake everyone up.
Yes, but also I watch them hunt. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't want to necessarily hunt anything, but the way they fly, they're the fastest creature on earth, right? So the way they drop out of the sky and the way they hunch their, like just the whole biomechanics.
Yeah.
I could do that.
Cool. That's a good one.
Yeah.
If you could travel anywhere just right now, where would you go?
I would be on the African savannah.
Ooh,
right
good
now.
one.
I would be on the Mara or in the Serengeti or the Kalahari. Somewhere on safari.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And last question, what does happiness look like for you?
Happiness looks like the place where my home is, I suppose. Like, and I don't mean home in the sense of I'm in my home right now, but happy. If I think about when I'm most happy, it's when I feel most connected, right? So that's my home, where I'm getting your
soul home. My
soul home is, right? So that's generally in nature. It's generally with people I love or with my animals. Like if I, like yesterday I was sitting there, with my two dogs just came up, sat under my armpits, I was sitting on the couch having a rest, and they both just sat there. It was like those big dog sighs and, just sitting there for a minute, and I couldn't go back to my work.
No.
Because they were just so cuddly, and, I just looked out the window and how beautiful it looked, with the storm. There was a storm yesterday, as you know, and it was kind of like, I feel so happy here.
Nice.
So content, so what does happiness look like? Happiness looks like home, I suppose.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a really perfect answer. Thank you so much for being here and for chatting. I had the best time.
Oh, thank you.
It was a pleasure.
You. Oh my God, I'm so glad we finally got to do this.
I know, me too. And everyone go and look at everything that this amazing woman has created, because it's like truly it's a must. If you need to learn well, go to Stacy. I love everything that you've done.
Oh, thank you. And look, I will send you
I've already ordered it. I wanted to support you. I've pre-ordered it.
Oh no.
Yes. No. You got to support each other.
I know, but still, no. Thank you very much for having me.
No worries.
I really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
All right. Well, have a good one.
Bye. Thank you.